Are you a fan of crime dramas? Well, Netflix just dropped their Swedish series, The Helicopter Heist. It's based on a true story, so should you watch? One early September morning in 2009, eyes from around the world turned to an inconspicuous Stockholm suburb. A helicopter has landed on the roof of the country's safest cash depot, and the police can only watch as the robbers disappear along with several $1 million. So this is a methodical series with a storytelling style that feels inspired by Michael Mann's Heat. And even in the series, the characters, they reference the film. So maybe this is sort of a case of life imitating art. The thieves getting a few ideas and then hatching their own plan to hit it big. Now, the story follows several of those allegedly involved, and I say allegedly because certain facts are not known concretely. Of those suspected to be involved, pretty much nobody said anything on whether they were or weren't part of the heist. But this is told in 8 40-ish minute episodes, telling the story of two childhood friends who grew up a bit rough and had scrapes with the law, to then be reunited many years later to supposedly pull off this daring crime. Now, acting in the show, it is subdued and quiet. We're shown some larger personalities, but between the suspects and the police, everyone is sort of just a little dour, sort of despondent, even reserved. And while that isn't always a negative to have pretty much every character be withdrawn, it does make it difficult to engage with them. And that's something that the series does almost immediately. Right from the start, we're thrust upon one of the lead characters, Rami, getting brief backstory and then showing him months after the heist where he's on the run. Now, the dude was a complete stranger to me, so I had zero connection to anything that was going to happen to him. I think that's also because he wasn't made out to be a sympathetic character, even though some of his family circumstances should warrant that. Thankfully, through the episodes, we do learn more on him and the others, but they're all still kept at arm's length from us, maintaining a bit of emotional distance. I'm not looking to remove all mystique with the characters or know everything about them all up front, but I found myself struggling to care about any of them. Even when we're given characters that are meant to elicit sympathy, like a police officer who's getting the short end of the stick from her boss. Now, maybe it's just me, but I couldn't even engage with her on an emotional level where it felt as if her presence mattered so deeply in the story that I would be devastated if something happened to her. But just because I did struggle to get behind any of the players, that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole series is crap. I was intrigued with all of the planning and calculating that was demonstrated for the heist. And because of the location and the risks involved with hitting this cash depot, the plan had to be meticulous. So the story takes its time to show us all the various stages, even schemes, that had to be undertaken to ensure success. Now, because there were so many moving parts, meaning that so many different elements could go wrong, these all compounded to add some decent tension and stress to the storytelling. I think had I been connected to the characters, it would have been even more fascinating. Well, there you go. Now, a couple of things I don't have any qualms about are the cinematography, the look, and the feel of the production. Now, first, the shots, they are beautifully constructed, creating a very cinematic and movie-like quality to what we're shown. The scenes, they're constructed to be dramatic and intimate, using these warmer tones and then varied shots to just give us a closeness to the planning and their conversations between the characters, but then also not being afraid to keep us at this huge distance so that we feel more like voyeurs observing the action from some sort of hidden location. And there's also a lot of grittiness to the production, taking away any polish and instead making everything feel a bit more worn, sketchy. Not quite dirty, but also not on the up and up. And the aesthetic gives off the vibe of criminal, where the character may be somebody wealthy or well-kept, but they're also a despicable human in any legal sense. So despite the production looking great and the story creating some good stress, the storytelling felt overly long and drawn out, stretching a story that could have only taken a few hours to tell and tripling it exhaustingly. And while the case itself is intriguing thanks to the brazenness of the crime and then the elements that remain enigmatic, the inaccessible characters made this difficult to engage with on an emotional level, creating a detached and uninvested watching experience that just simply took too long to tell. There's no sex or nudity, a ton of profanity, and some violence. I give the Helicopter Heist 2.5 out of 5 couches. It's not all bad, but it's not all good either. All right, what crime dramas or maybe crime thrillers are your favorites? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.